Hey, Kevin, thanks so much for joining today. And we are
Sure.
recording
Cool.
um, an episode of Beyond the Usual. And I mentioned this to you a few weeks ago. So we are still in the early stages of getting our recordings going, and we'll see how people love the content and enjoy the content and go from there. So,
Yep.
Kevin, you and I have known each other probably 4 years, but have been more in conversation in the past 1 year
Right.
through meetups, events, and all that. I think what brings us most together is as much as our interest in technology, we do enjoy all things non-tech, all things garbage content sometimes. So I will let you quickly introduce yourself and we'll start shooting questions to each other.
Sure. I like the fact that clearly I'm part of Kingsman Software, but I like the fact that this is not supposed to be corporate. It's supposed to be Kevin. So from me as kind of my journey, I started off through finance, and really liked the tech side, and then came over into the tech side. So I've got a little bit of business side, a little bit of technology side, and so I can kind of play both sides of the fence there. So that I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, that kind of thing.
Isn't that good when you have to just pivot and start something else new?
Well, especially when it's things you like. Like before the call, we were talking about what would you do if you weren't in your current role.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I was in finance. I really like finance, but I'm like, oh, I should have been like a computer science guy. And so I'm not a computer science guy, but I kind of came over the other side of the fence to learn some of that stuff. So um, I'm I'm kind of living that dream, maybe.
Awesome. That's the beauty. If you can get to live your dream. I'm remembering one of the quotes on my back. I will not know this right, but there's that quote, right, which says, if you're doing what you love, you'll just enjoy doing it more better. So
You'll never work a day in your life. Yeah.
yes, true.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for
Yep.
finishing it up. Okay, my first question to you. Recently, we were sharing some of our text and chat and things about Bollywood, and I realized you and your family is very exposed and influenced by Bollywood. So, what got you exposed to it, and who is your favorite actor?
Yep. So I don't know, 20 plus years ago, I was working for an offshore firm. Um, I didn't know that at the time when I joined, but it turned out that because they had an onshore or like New York-based consulting firm, and they had a whole bunch of offshore development work. And so I started working on a project with some folks that came over from India, and we were all kind of stuck on that Long Island. It was literally around like 9/11 when things were shut down and you couldn't travel back. So we were stuck for like a month in Long Island in hotel rooms, and we had to figure out stuff to do over the weekends. And so I'm working with three guys from India, and they said, we're going to watch some Bollywood movies. I'm like, great, let's bring it. And I said, what's like the one movie I need to see? And they said at the time, Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, K3G. And they explained like he has all the actors, all the generations of actors, right? Amitabh and Shah Rukh Khan and Hrithik Roshan, like the three different levels, and they kind of gave proxies to U.S. actors, kind of like a Sean Connery as the older person, and maybe a Tom
Tom
Cruise,
Cruise. Yep.
and then like a Matt Damon kind of thing, like
Yep.
different generations. And they're the who's who. And so I watched the movie, and of course they're really, really long. But it just hit with me. It just struck a chord of um I had a perception of what indie was all about and what it was like. And that movie is completely opposite of what I think my expectations were. I like the music, I like the plot, I like the actors. It was great. And so I developed like some sort of an appetite to go watch more and more and more. Of course, you could pirate all that stuff back then, and so we watched a whole bunch of pirated movies. And my wife is a big fan of Hrithik Roshan because he's, first of
Good
all,
dancer.
hot and a good dancer, right? So she likes that. I think I saw Das, Shilpa
That's
Shetty,
mm-hmm.
Sanjay Dutt.
Yep.
Yeah, Shilpa Shetty was pretty. good looking in that
There is
movie.
a new movie coming tomorrow
Oh
of
yeah,
Hrithik Roshan. Yeah, Fighter.
Hrithik Roshan. Okay,
Yep.
Fighter.
So Fighter, I think Birkdale or somewhere around it's carrying. So yeah,
Okay, all right, I'll have to check it out.
you'll probably have to.
Um,
Yep.
and then what was another one I saw? Debong.
Yes.
These are all old. I haven't seen one in a
The
while, but
cop stories, right? Yeah.
that's right. And so I wear my glasses in the
I do too, because it falls off. So every time I have
right.
sunglasses, I'm like, I've always done that even before the movie came. And now every
Okay.
time I do it, it's like, oh, you're just copying Salman Khan. I'm like, no, I'm saving my glasses from not falling off.
So I didn't even think about that. When I saw the movie. I'm like, that's dumb that he puts his sunglasses behind him. But then when I got reading glasses, because I'm old, and I try to like put them here, they'd always fall off. I'd get my shin prints all over them, and like, you're like, this makes a lot of sense.
Now
So,
you know how to protect your
so,
glasses.
so let's go with Salman Khan. So I was in Pune because I
Mhm.
used to travel out to India. I'm in Pune, and I'd seen a couple of Salman Khan movies, and it was some weekend because I was there for a couple of weeks. And I look outside, there's some commotion outside my door. I look outside my peephole, and there's a guy outside in the hallway with like a machine gun. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? I had bad visions in my head as to what might be happening. And so I called down the front desk and they're like, oh, well, sir, Mr. Kevin, a Bollywood actor is staying in the hotel. I'm like, oh, which one? And they said Salman Khan. I'm like, Dabang? And like, "Oh, you know who he is?" I'm like, I love that movie. And they're like, do you want to meet him? Because, a whole bunch of Indians all want to meet him, but rarely does an American want to meet him.
And knows by name of the movie. So,
That's right.
yep,
I did a very, very, very small meet and greet with him. So that's my claim to fame.
absolutely. Do you
Yeah,
get to record those
in town
moments or
he was in town for some sort of soccer match or something like that, charity soccer match, something like that. But well, I'm
next
sorry.
time? Yeah, next time you'll watch for it again.
Yes, yeah, it's fun. I do like the movies, and my family's all into it as well.
Awesome. More
Yeah.
topics to talk about.
All right, my question.
Yes.
Okay, mine's a little more, I don't know, official or something like that. So what accomplishment are you most proud of? And don't go down the work path. I know you're an entrepreneur and you're a female entrepreneur that has created a company, but pick something else. I don't know, personal life, whether it's family or uh, performance accomplishment, like singing or dancing, or athletic, or um, a intellectual pursuit. Like what are you most proud of?
I'll say two things, and that's because those are the two things that come to mind. Very rarely have I taken impulsive decisions, but these two have been probably the most impulsive ones in decision making so far. One is the most recent one. A few months ago, we decided to move my 12-year-old to a new school.
Mhm.
Um, and we coincidentally, just as you met Salman Khan, we happened to visit a new school around for an event, looked at the school. I'll not say fell in love, but it was literally like, this is where I need my child to be.
Mhm.
And 1 week past that event, she was enrolled into it. We didn't give it much thought. To date, her earlier school was like 7 minutes from home, and now we drive 45 minutes one
Oh,
way just to, but she's at a happy place. She needed a school that would challenge her, have people around her that would say she's not like the best achieved person in the
right.
grade. So
Yeah.
we are all happy. I think that's what else. I could sense for a few years that she had the potential to enjoy what she was learning, but did not have the environment for it. And I think sometimes you just have to do things to get someone out of the situation they are and put them where they might thrive.
Yeah.
So could have dragged it forever, could have thought we need a home first and X and Y and this and that. That was a 1 week decision. I still cannot imagine, but the pleasure we all have and the content it's bought us, I think cannot be replaced.
How long ago did you do that?
It was around September. She was 3 weeks into the new into her previous school, and then we just switched it off.
So this was mid-school year too.
Mid-school year too. Yes, we came back from India. She joined her previous school. 3 weeks later, she was joining somewhere else. After Labor Day, we decided we will weep, we will cry, we will kick, we will complain along the Labor Day, and then start a new day. So,
Okay.
okay.
How is it working out so far?
So far, it's good. Drive is not bad, actually. We listen to the news. Sometimes there's audiobooks. So it's good time. So we
Okay.
get quality time with each other, I would say. And she's being challenged every single day. She knows there is more to do whenever she's got time in hand. So it's putting that mindset in anyone, I think, is powerful. You
Yeah.
don't know everything. There are hundreds of people that know so much more than you, and you're the one who's got to catch up with those 100 people. Just knowing that gap of the things that you don't know is just powerful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
And
she- so
sorry, go ahead.
she's 12 years old, so
She's
that's
12,
seventh or
sixth
eighth grade.
grade. Yep,
Sixth. Okay.
sixth grade. Yep.
Yeah. So if I could just share something in my
Mm-hmm.
personal life, our son about the same age, well, maybe a different situation in that he was smarter than his grades reflected, but he had trouble listening, paying attention in class and whatnot. So we did something similar, moved to a different school that could accommodate that a little bit better. Fast forward now, he's 23 and a PhD in aerospace engineering.
Yeah,
So it works.
it
I mean,
works.
you make these changes and it hurts when it's happening. But that's now setting someone on a slightly different trajectory that over time those trajectories diverge a
Yeah.
lot. So
And
yeah.
if you don't take those steps, you're just not creating a path at all. Like losing interest because you can't study or can't have those conversations with your friends because their topics of conversations are different and not aligned with you. And yeah. And doing business um, personally, there's only that many topics I'll be indulged in. I cannot be wanting to go home and watch TikTok or stay on YouTube. So I've got to find something where she's happy and busy. So, yep.
That's great.
And kind of related to the same, my second one would be um, when she was born, I had 12 weeks of maternity. Fortunately, I had my parents come over, help me out for a few months. And I will say the entirety of pregnancy was so bad. I literally moved my desk at office closer to the bathroom because yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, I cannot work. I'm done walking. I cannot keep food down. Anyways, when she was born, I realized I had regained so much energy and my parents were having a blast taking care of her and I had nothing to do. So I called my manager and I said, hey, I want to come back early 4 weeks. So that was another like impulsive decision. I knew my team needed me. They were doing a big launch. Subtly, I knew, hey, if I got in there, that launch will happen on time. I can contribute. Just many things, right? I to date, I will say I am very proud of that decision. Not only was it for the company, for the team, but also for me. I was like, I'm done. Maternity is over. Like I need to go back. That's where I feel like I belong. I'm here to do something, contribute something in some form.
Mhm.
Motherhood, yes, but they don't have to clash or collide with each other. So yeah, those two things.
Okay.
Interesting. They both around the kid. So I didn't realize until now.
It's a lot of your life revolves around children, right? I mean, that's
True.
just the way it
Yep.
is, right? Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Okay.
Ready for your next question?
Yep, your turn.
Awesome. You and I often, very, very often, crack a lot of jokes. How are you at work and how much part does humor play at Kingsman?
So you and I crack a lot of jokes. Usually we're in an audience at some sort of an event, and we're
Picking
like
on people.
we're like the kids in the back of the classroom making jokes, passing notes. Um, we joke a lot here at Kingsman at work. Part of it's just our DNA, because we don't take ourselves too seriously. We work at a lot of large organizations, especially a lot of banks, and their meetings are so boring. And so when we like join a team and it's like partly us and partly our clients, and we're making a lot of jokes, maybe in the beginning of the meeting, um, it just makes meetings a whole lot more interesting because meetings suck, right? So, but being able to crack a few jokes or make some movie references or things along those lines, we use a lot of the GIFs, that GIFs, however you want to pronounce
Mm-hmm.
it. I can do that here. But we use a lot of GIFs um, uh, to make jokes as well on Slack and whatnot. Um, and what's nice about it is, uh, especially like the younger folks, they come in and they see partners and they are a little bit worried and intimidated, and
They
then
feel
you're cracking
comfortable.
jokes. Yeah, it makes things a whole lot easier to tolerate. And you can see that where they get over the hump of when they can make not even tell a joke, but tell a joke about you. Like they can kind of needle you a little bit or bust on you. You're like, they finally have acclimated into the environment. Um, and then in addition, one thing that they have to learn is when to joke, when not to joke.
True.
So we can be joking around, jump into seriousness, joke around, jump back into seriousness. And there's always the one person that hasn't figured it out and they're just joking, joking, joking. You're like, no, we're serious. They're like, but you were just joking. You're like, that was so like 30 seconds ago. So there's that kind of wave of a meeting that we're joking around in the beginning. We get down to business, we do our work. We might uh, joke a little bit in between intermission, and then we're continuing on. So it's an art, but it just shows we're not taking ourselves too seriously because no one's dying in our industry, in your industry, in my industry. Like we're not brain surgeons, um, so we can afford a little bit of levity.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, my turn.
Yes.
All right, where is your happy place? And by happy place, it could be an island, like a place, right? It could be a house, like a physical
Yep.
location. It could be a virtual location. I like to have my iPods in with some music going and just zoned out. Or it could be I like hanging on the couch with my family and watching Netflix or something like that. Like where is your happy place?
Sitting around doing nothing, like literally doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
So
think that's the most calming, I would say, like
are
trying
you
to
like
block
in your
everything.
in your sweatpants on the couch, just doing nothing,
Yep.
staring at the ceiling?
Yeah. With the ceiling, yeah. Or outside. Yeah, those again, if we are going on vacation or something, to me, beach is what I like, but not in the water. I'm sitting far, far away from the waves, just watching it. I could sit there for 8 hours, no food, nothing. I could just get lost in the thoughts. So yeah, to
Yeah.
me, I think it's the sound of the waves. So they I don't I'm just recollecting now. I had written a blog once about the waves. They just seem to be bringing me so many of like life's lessons.
Hmm.
Now that you're asking me about it, I remember writing something about even if you're walking in the shallow waters, you don't really know what the next step is going to be. Is it a flat land? Are you like thumping down? So to me, that portion was like that's how life is. You don't know what your next step will lead into. It could be up, it could be down, you could stumble and fall. Um, yeah, it's
And there's something
I
about
think beach.
the
Something
heartbeat of
about
the
the heartbeats, yeah.
yeah.
And the waves. Like each time there's a wave, I'm like, are you the same wave? Are you the same droplets? I don't know. There's something about
Yeah.
how much of the scope is new versus I'm re-experiencing the same thing. So happy place would be around the beach.
There's something primordial about the ocean. Like if you think of fish, fish are in the ocean
Hmm.
and humans typically are on the land. But there is that edge right there. Like where the waves are lapping up on the land, it is exactly where the ocean meets the land. And by walking in the shallow, you're like dividing both worlds,
The
right?
portal, right? You're in between the
It's
two. Yeah,
exactly, yeah, it's
absolutely.
the transition area, right?
Yep.
And if, if we were creatures at some point walked out of the ocean as salamanders or frogs or whatever, or whatever happened in an evolutionary timescale, that that this something just calls us back. It's really weird. So I totally agree with you on the beach part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's last question. So when I visited Kingsman office, I saw you guys have decorated with all Star Wars themes.
Yep.
That tells me you are a Star Wars fan and your
I don't
team
know what you're
is.
talking about.
Oh,
Star
yeah,
Wars.
I can see there. Yep.
Yeah, we got Star Wars there. If you can see that.
Yep. And there was a big puzzle that you guys were working on. I don't know if
Oh,
you all got it done yet.
I mean, I have, let's see, I've got a BB-8 over here. Uh,
Something's hiding at the back. I see that. Yep.
this-
There you go. Okay.
Anyway,
So,
I can show you my Millennium Falcon that I had as a kid over here.
top 1 or 3 life takeaways, life lessons that come from Star Wars.
I'm glad you sent this one ahead of time because whenever I watch the movies, by the way, I can give you all sorts of like references. Blah, blah, blah. What I really like about it is time scale. So I didn't this really hit me when I went to Egypt, I don't know, 15 years ago. And here you are in like King Tut's tomb. And this guy died like in the year 1250 BC. And yet we still know who he is and who his parents were and like how long he reigned and whatnot. And he died like 3,200 years ago. It's like crazy how long ago that was. And yet I can't even tell you the name of my great great grandfather. Maybe great grandfather, but not great great grandfather.
Yeah.
That was only probably like 120 years ago. And I can't remember them. And so it's just it starts to change your brain a little bit as to time scale. And so if I think about the first Star Wars movie where you have little Anakin Skywalker, who's a little 10-year-old kid, um, and then he goes on to be adult Anakin Skywalker. He goes on to be Darth Vader, and his contemporaries of like Luke and Leia and sorry, Luke is his son. Luke, Leia, and like Han Solo are the next generation
Mm-hmm.
because they're the younger ones. And then in the other movies, the later movies, 7, 8, 9, Kylo Ren is Leia and Han's kid. And so Darth Vader's his grandfather. And so you get to see 3 generations of plot arc. And it's not just that like, oh, my grandfather was the Dark Lord, but it's like my grandfather started as a kid, as this fun little kid that has some abilities. And we
Becomes
never
dark.
think that way, right? We never think about our parents growing up as a kid and having to deal with their parents and their environment they grew up in, and maybe they weren't good in school and they were too good in school and they weren't challenged, or maybe they took one misstep and it changed their life. Like all these things that we don't even pay attention to happen to our parents that your kid and my kid don't realize happen to us. And so when you think of like not just the plot arc of one movie, but across the trilogy, which is like 100 years or several generations, we live that too. And
We don't
we
document it.
we often pay attention to only our own
Us.
life and
Absolutely.
not what our parents went through or grandparents went through. Like my grandfather was in World War II in D-Day. Like, so his life journey is completely different than mine. And so how someone's origin story occurs and how life impacts them and what decisions they make and how they have kids and raise their kids and support their kids. Like it's all it's big life lesson, I guess.
Very fascinating, right? Like sometimes you wonder, with all the facilities and technology improvements today, you still have less time than what some of the people with
Yeah.
zero innovations and traveling by foot have accomplished in decades ago or centuries ago. So yeah, it's Crazy how time spins.
And there's a book called the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov, which is it's
Yeah,
Star Wars. And every chapter is like a next generation, right? Like here's a chapter in this generation, and then the next chapter is like 30 years in the future. It's kind of hard to follow the plot, but um, when you look at that time scale and you're 10 chapters in, you're like, that was 300 years ago from the beginning of the book. And that's like, think of how long America's been around, right? It's that kind of a uh, um, time scale. It's hard to wrap your brain around sometimes.
and for him to write it in the, was it in 50s or
Yeah,
40s?
right.
Yeah, like
Yes.
for him to even like write that much into the future and make us travel 300 years in future, like, yeah, I read iRobot, like just amazing book. It's so small, so tiny, and he said the rules, how robotics, the three
Yep.
rules, it's unbelievable. This was not on the question, but I will ask you, what are your thoughts
Wait,
on
whoa.
whole,
Is that a
no,
fourth
no, no, it's not the fourth one. It's just a continuation.
addendum?
You will like this one. You will like this one. The fascination of the actors of Star Wars. Like when you say Star Wars, those are the typical 5, 6 faces that come in.
Mhm.
And now with deepfake, generative AI, and all of it, do you feel like it's a good thing those faces may have a chance to carry on?
I do. Well, think about in a book, right? In a book, you have a character and you have a vision of that character in your head. You have a voice in your head, and they have certain personalities and mannerisms and backstory and whatnot. If you came out with another movie, wouldn't you want to see that another movie? So like let's take James Bond example, and not the movies, but the book, right? You would want more and more James Bond films, even though the timelines don't necessarily match and whatnot. But you've got an idea of what James Bond looks like. I would love to have Sean Connery do more and more and more and more and more Bond films, right?
Okay.
I mean Sean Connery, right? The 30 or 40-year-old Sean Connery doing more
They
and more,
found him looking like that. And yeah, I
right?
think yeah, maybe that's what we'll go back to, bringing back the actors that no longer can act. So,
If you
yeah,
think about it, it's Sean Connery acting as James Bond, right? And so that is not really completely Sean Connery because he was given a character and given lines and whatnot. And so it's not all Sean Connery. There's more to it than that.
we'll wait and see what the movie industries get into.
I mean, we in my keynote from our AI Expo a couple of months ago, I did some research and like Tom Hanks has sold his name and likeness rights. So
Eternal, right? Like he can
yeah,
stop acting. It can
forever.
act for him.
We can see
Yeah.
Tom Hanks now forever. It's
Yep.
great.
Absolutely.
The hard part, I think, is if Tom Hanks was doing a different role, right? So Tom Hanks as an individual brings certain acting skills to his role. But if you were to say Tom Hanks as
Spider-Man.
Forrest Gump, well, yeah, exactly. It's like, take Tom Hanks' name and likeness and make him Spider-Man just wouldn't work because
Work
he
with
added
him. Yeah.
magic to it. But he's already added the magic to Forrest Gump, so it could be him as Forrest Gump doing something else.
Yeah. Okay. Series. Netflix series.
Forrest Gump, the older years,
Every single day of, yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Awesome.
my question, my
Yes.
last review.
Last one.
All right, so you wake up in the morning
Mm-hmm.
because your alarm went off. Like usually your alarm on your phone. What's besides turning off your alarm on your phone? What's the first app that you open in the morning? What's your go-to app?
I don't want to say this, but it's the emails.
It's your
I
email.
just want to know what's stacked up, even though it's the last thing see before going to bed. Still,
You're a
still,
workaholic.
it's still one of those things. I'm like, did something just happen while I was sleeping? So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Well, your team works on the other side of the globe, so there's things that happen while you're sleeping. So you probably need to
sometimes, yeah,
yeah.
or sometimes it's new news, some regulations here, something there. Just to be aware. Also, I think just to check my calendar, what the day looks like.
Okay.
You might know from your earlier email today, I'm not prepared earlier in the week much, but it's more like, oh, what does today look like? Oh, I have to be somewhere at 7:30. I guess I have to get ready faster than any other day and get there. So yeah.
So we're talking about ourselves, right? So what I do at the beginning of every week is I write down all the different things I need to do. Right. I, I have a technology company. I use
Hey, all my notes are in my book. So it's just like, and when I lose my book, it's pretty frustrating.
here's my challenge though. My challenge is I have 3 or 4 different client computers. And so my calendars don't match. And so I have to like, when I start the week, I need to say, okay, this is my Kingsman calendar. This is client A's calendar, client B's calendar. I bring it all together into this piece. And if I may,
Wow. Yes. Awesome. That's a year.
no.
Okay, good.
It's 20 years, 20 years of calendar.
You could paint a wall with it. Just
I
stick them side by side.
I have the same thing for notebooks.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
it's so
note
weird when you say things like, hey, I met you in 2006 and I can tell you the day
what
because
time? Wow. Yeah. For me, it's notebooks and pencils. Like I'm a fan of pencils. I just like writing with pencil.
wow, I won't show you my notebooks. They're too heavy to lift up. But so if I could answer the question as well from my standpoint, I go to Clash of Clans. It's my guilty pleasure. It's one of those
Early
games.
morning. Mhm.
My son introduced me to it in, I don't know, 2014, maybe like 10 years ago.
Oh,
And if you remember Farmville,
yeah.
we had to kind of like feed the hogs and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. You get these little dopamine hits by having to like feed the pig. And not that I ever did Farmville, but Clash of Clans is similar to that in that you're mining gold, and so at some point your gold mine is full, and so you have to go in and you have to just
Exchange.
log in and like collect your gold, collect your elixir, collect your whatever. Um, and you get that little dopamine hit in the morning. It just kind of wakes me up. So
Yeah.
um,
I have started though. I've started. So we have like a tablet at home because everyone wanted their own
mhm.
phone and tablets. So I was like, we'll get something that everyone can use. So we've been using more of a common tablet for playing music and all that rather than each of us having our own devices. So recently I've been eyeing more towards, okay, the alarm's done. Let me go and just put on songs on the tablet, like go there because it doesn't have apps, it doesn't have anything, just plays music. So trying trying best to get away from phone usage just because once my eyes are on it, like everything else shuts down. So that it's scary. So
Luckily, I'm at the point where I've been playing Clash of Clans so long that it's no longer like a necessity. There's a point where it's an obsession, and now it's like maintenance mode kind of thing.
I did
That's
that with Wordle. I used to wake up, play Wordle.
yeah,
Yes, I did. I hit 500 and then I just was like, okay, 500 is a good mark to just stop playing.
yep, 500. Jeez.
I wouldn't say I played all 500, but at the 500th Wordle, I
Oh,
just,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Maybe I played a year and a half. So
And then did you get into like Quirtle and
nothing. No, I didn't do those complex things. There was another thing, something with Geo
yeah,
and
exactly. Yep.
cities.
Yep.
Those were
Yeah.
too complex for my
That was
smart
tough.
brain. Yeah.
And there was a math one as well. I didn't like any
I
of that.
like Sudokus. Like Sudokus are fun sometimes. Just the
Yeah.
easy ones. Yeah, moderate and hard can be for someone else.
All right.
All right,
This is
Kevin,
fun.
this has been fun. This, yeah,
So
looking forward
much
to
more interesting
listening it
than
again.
conversations I have.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. I'm going to
Thanks for
stop the
having.
recording. Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.